came up with, because when I toured like State Street, I'm going, okay, there's no room on that. Where do you put a tree? It's like
That's where
2
we
feet.
go.
Well, how do you do that?
Outside of the box and into Neverland.
Yeah, like I was thinking about Charlottesville, how they plant the flower, you know, because it's the only one I know.
Recording.
All right, I think, Teresa, we should be good to.
No Patrick today, I guess.
No, he said he couldn't make it today.
The recording was in progress.
Oh, I know why. I know why.
Isn't it weird to hear yourself?
Yes, it
I
is.
did not mute the Zoom. That's why.
There you go.
I think we are good.
We're good?
Yep, we're good.
Do I do roll call?
No, I'll do that.
That's what I
You just open the meeting. Roll call. Jamie Melky.
Here.
Gail Brown.
Here.
Teresa Johnson.
Here.
Dana Mulder. Here. We have 4 out of 5. Patrick Weiss is absent, but we do have a quorum.
All right. Any questions or comments on the minutes from the last meeting? Or does somebody want to?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
The minutes have been approved.
You want to call it all in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, so board communications. Do we have any?
No, oh, some of the trees on M119 have gone in.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, some of them. I think the evergreens have gone in and I think but they're not all there yet, but some of them have gone in, so.
Okay, when did they go in?
The middle of the night, early morning when we tell DPW to do controversial things. No, I'm just joking. They went in this, they were working on them last night and this morning.
Oh, okay, that's why I haven't seen them. I'm like, I've been up and down that road.
Or Tupelo went in a couple of days ago.
The Tupelo went in either a day or two
Okay.
ago,
Yeah.
and the evergreens went in this morning, I think.
Okay,
I think we're just waiting on the crab apples.
And Lucas is putting them in?
DPW was working with Ben
Okay.
to do it, yeah.
were we able to get the pink
Yes.
crabs instead of the white?
Yes.
Thank you, Lucas.
Okay, any other board communications? No? Okay, so do we have anyone on Zoom?
I don't see anyone on Zoom. No.
Okay, so there's no public, so bypass public comment, I guess. Old business. First thing we have is Arbor Day Fest recap. Anybody want to
It's-
volunteer to start?
I had sent Victor over some
Yeah.
thoughts that I'd had about it that I jotted down right afterwards. I didn't forget anything. I love the event. I think it's such a great event, but a question does arise, do we have enough visitors to it other than, I looked around at one point and there were more staff people and board members there than there were guests.
I noticed that too.
So does that mean we're not doing fun enough stuff, or is there just not that much interest, or do we wanna mix it up next year, try something different?
Was it down from previous years? Could you tell? I've never been before. That's the first one I've been
Yeah,
to.
I think it was down,
Yeah, last year there were more. The first year we did it, it was really a tree planting
yeah,
Okay,
event. So, I think maybe scaling it down and maybe coordinating with a tree planting event might be also helpful.
something to try next year.
And wasn't it a timing issue? Wasn't there something else going on? Was it in Petoskey?
Oh,
Was there
yeah.
Something else going on.
It was just Memorial Weekend.
And
Yeah, it was
Memorial
like sitting
Weekend,
right
so
farmers market.
maybe ideas for next year then would be to do a different weekend.
could look at doing a different weekend. I also wondered about the location, but the location was okay last year.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was a good look. I mean, last year the draw was with Eric Hemingway's talk. There was, that got a lot of people to come out.
So maybe a speaker.
And there was more
speaker.
interest in the climbing trees than there was in the pruning trees. So that was, I think, but I think the scavenger hunt was pretty popular with the kids that showed up.
Yeah,
Yeah. that was
Yeah.
good.
nobody cared about the walk and talk.
No,
I took a couple people just that were going out on the scavenger hunt, but yeah.
right, okay. Yeah, that's right.
And the bird feeder craft, that's always, people like to do that, so.
Right. I wonder if maybe we just do something simpler, maybe at Zorn Park, right next to the farmer's market going on. There's
I think
already
that's a
people
great idea.
downtown.
Yeah.
And that way we don't have to try to draw people from the downtown area to up to Kiwanis Park, which a lot of people may not be
Yeah.
familiar with or just realize that it's right there.
And maybe if you have, a few years where it's right in front of people, then they'll get used to it. And then if it switches, and they'll ask, oh, where's that this year? So,
I mean, other than social media, I don't feel like we did, and it was in the Harbor Light, but I don't think the Harbor Light is the same because everyone does it online, and so they pick and choose what they're actually looking at, more so than if you're looking at an actual paper. So I think that just like finding more ways to advertise it would have helped.
yeah, we couldn't find our banner this year, which was probably impacted it as well.
Yeah,
We'll have to do a new banner for next year.
Even though we think we know who took it.
Yeah. We think it was, well,
Never mind. I wonder if we might emphasize the partnership with parks a little more. I think that disc golf was popular.
Yeah,
Oh, it was.
everybody loved the disc golf. But could even put a disc golf page in Zorn Park for the day and.
yeah,
Yep, and we could do hot dogs at Zorn Park.
Yeah.
So people would go there for hot dogs and disc golf, but we could claim Arbor Day.
I think the idea of doing it at different parks is helpful.
yeah.
That's some good ideas for next year anyways.
Hot dogs were a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, Bill and Gail.
I do think that maybe advertising it as a community barbecue and just like having parks and tree stuff might get more people to come.
Yeah, that's good.
Put the food right front and center.
The important stuff.
Right.
Is it too early? Is it too early in the year to actually use Arbor Day? Is it too cold? Arbor Day's in
We
April.
could have snow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Depends.
I think it'd be nice to do it after farmer's market, like you said, so we could tie in with the crowds there maybe.
All right, well, those are the comments.
okay, any other thoughts on Arbor Day? Before we move on? No, okay. Then next we have the state tree land corridor. Anna has worked up this beautiful plan.
Well, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, and but the first thing I want to say, Dan, I got this because I think it's really awesome. Option one, just something about option two is that's more of a design, it's not really a tree board purview, like if you're talking about
Nobody else
designing.
is
like
really looking
grass.
at corridors,
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, I think we should stick to our focus as a tree board. If we start getting into, designing, that's really not what we're doing. So, but maybe it's a recommendation that, if the recommendation is this is not a good area for trees, then there's something we can go with, the council and say, hey, this is not a good area for trees, but it could benefit from other landscaping. So just an FYI, I think we should focus on tree board than trees.
I agree, but I mean, if there is a better solution than trees, it seems like we shouldn't just say, oh, we can't talk about that because it's.
I know, but it's really not our mission.
I understand, but I mean, like, let's say for State Street, we do decide that it is kind of a good idea, then we go to city council and they can decide if they want to work on it. There really is nobody else that deals with plants, in the city.
Right, and again, but that's not our I just want to emphasize, like, we're focusing on trees, like, we're not, that's our focus, that's our emphasis. So if we don't think it, either we think it's a good area to put trees or we don't. And
I would
that's,
hate to have a good idea lost, so.
you can share it with council, absolutely. But I just want to keep us on track of our mission.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, you guys saw all the same stuff I did, I'm sure, overhead wires on both sides, the very narrow boulevards ranging between 2 and 3 feet. The southern part of State Street ends up having a whole lot of retaining walls, so it's kind of rules things out. The front yards are not all that deep. One thought was, well, we just wait until the next time sidewalks are done and we push the sidewalks further into the right of way, but I feel like people's front yards are so narrow that that's not a good idea. Nobody would be very happy with that. Yeah, so this first idea has to do with planting the trees, not in the boulevard, but rather on the house side of the sidewalk. So it's a 66-foot wide right of way there. So from the center line, usually it would be 33 each side, but just looking at the Emmett County property map, it doesn't look like it. The street goes right down the center. So in some places there, you know, we would plant it on the house side and it would be still in the right of way. In other cases, it would be on somebody's property. So,
Can I just have something clarified?
yeah,
The green on here, are these proposed trees?
Yes.
Not, okay.
yeah. So wherever you don't see green, either they already have trees in their front yard, or they have hedges, or they have big retaining walls kind of right along the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And the trees, I think, could be, shade trees is up, would I be my go-to probably for street trees, but you know, north of Lake Street, just in the spring, it's just beautiful with all the crab trees up there. Kind of up, you know, north of the schools, you know, like up by Fairview Plaza and all that.
One thought I have would be if it is on private property, and obviously would require the approval of a homeowner. We probably also need to figure out the liability things on our end and who's maintaining it. I mean, I don't think we want to be in the business of maintaining a tree on private property. If something happens to that tree and it falls on something, so we just have to be careful of that. I mean, it wouldn't be our tree, it would be their tree. So we'd be basically putting even though it'd be enhancing the sidewalk by being on, you know, it'd be enhancing public property by putting it on private property, it would no longer be a public resource.
So we would give them the tree basically.
That's what it would amount to. I don't think we would be able to find a way to legally say, here's a tree, we own the tree, but this is your property. That's, yeah. So that'd be something just to be cautious of there. I don't know if that'd be the best way to go. However,
There aren't really many other options.
well, I know there aren't, and that's, I mean, to think about it is, if we had someone else in town, be like, well, you're giving them a tree on their property, why aren't you giving me a tree on my property? You know, that's,
We'd love to, and it'll be in the boulevard.
no, but you get what I'm saying, is it's, I don't think there's a way we can legally, you know, say that we own, and if we do say this is our tree on your private property, then, you know, we're responsible for anything that happens to that person's yard because of the tree.
Can we see what Jim Raymer thinks about it?
I could, but I don't think it's necessary. I really think that if we're putting it on someone's private property, it's an issue. It's either they own the tree, and then we're gonna be entangled in an agreement where we maintain their tree, and I don't think that's good. I think we should be focusing on a public property. Private property is not. We can encourage people to put trees on their property, maybe. But to pay for a tree that goes on their property, I just don't see it.
Could we offer a stipend towards a tree and arrange to get planted or something like that. It just seems like the only way we're gonna improve the appearance, I think State Street is probably the least attractive corridor, but maybe one of the most important in Harbor Springs. And it just seems to just throw up our hands and say, there's nothing that can be done.
Well, I mean, I think you can certainly encourage people and you can maybe try some kind of campaign, door to door, be like, hey, but I don't think we should set the precedent of planting a tree on someone's property or giving them money to plant a tree on their property because it could benefit you could plant any tree on any property and say it benefits the public, or you're talking here about aesthetics, potentially shade, but you could plant a tree on someone else's property and say there's more urban canopy. Now, someone had an empty bare lot and now we give them money to plant 5 trees on their lot, that increases the urban canopy. So I don't know. I don't think that's the way to go. I don't think we should be giving a stipend or paying to put a tree on private property. That's just not smart. It's not good precedent. And
What do you think our options are?
well, I mean, what's our main goal, right, of doing this? Is it aesthetics or are we trying to increase the urban canopy? I mean,
I think it's aesthetics on State Street.
so is that the main goal? And this comes back to mission state of the tree board. Is it aesthetics or is it urban canopy?
It's both. I think it's both.
I think if we go to the tree plan, you'll see that the main goal is to increase urban canopy. And if we want to improve the aesthetics, that's fine, but is there a better way of, maybe this area is not the best way to go about that, about the tree, I guess, increasing the urban canopy. I mean, it's just not a good place. I think, like I say, I would encouraging private property owners to do something, but I don't think we should be planning on private properties, with public money. That's just not it.
So is our only option to work within that 2 to 3 feet space? Is that, because that's public?
Yeah, so what Dana was saying basically was unless we move the sidewalk, if there might be some area on the house side that might still be within the right of way.
Right.
So, and I don't know, we'd have to have Lucas go out there and check to see for sure where the right of way ends. So those properties, there may be an option to put a tree in that space.
I just looking at the Emmett County map, it doesn't look likely. Maybe down towards Bluff, yes, but that's where all the big retaining walls are.
Mhm.
And so what were you saying about the second idea, Victor?
Well, I just don't think, I mean, you guys can talk about it, I just don't think that's something for the tree board to make a decision on. If we're gonna, maybe if the decision is, if it's all about aesthetics, then, this is, you can say to council, hey, we want to put the aesthetics of this area, and we can put it on our plan for future things to do, but it's not, I don't think it should be a tree board. We're focusing on trees. That's our mission.
So in this proposal, the tree one, you're talking about putting it on the house side of the sidewalk. I can't picture in my head, there's not,
Let's see if I can get it.
how much space is there between
Between the
the
road
curb
and
and
the
the
sidewalk,
sidewalk?
2 to 3 feet.
Yeah, just 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah,
So
right there.
it wouldn't be healthy for the tree. plus
Not even a
that's-
small tree, it sounds
No,
like.
that's where and plus the overhead wires run right over that. And then they pile snow on it. And then I think tree branches would be hitting cars going by and hitting people in the face. So,
Let's pull up the map here. So, see.
So where I have trees shown is where they don't have trees in their front yard right now, and they might really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is right here, Snyder Street. And as you can see, it's blurry, but this is the space you have between the street and the sidewalk.
Mhm.
It's not a lot.
Yeah, that's Mike Barnes' house, and so you can see that's one of the spots that had a couple trees.
Up there.
I just don't know, knocking on his door and saying, we'd like to encourage you to put trees in. That would really help much. There's some more spots.
And up here you have this property is essentially,
I think the intersection's probably the least attractive. spot.
Oh, yeah.
and you can't, unfortunately, we can't put trees on the corners.
No. But we could by that little commercial building there. So one there, one at the house, I think the first 4 houses. I feel like I lost 2 trees in this. Yeah. So there's also supposed to be one, if a little commercial one up by the traffic light, then one in the house next door too. Was having trouble attaching trees to this.
So without being able, and this is my, just for me, because this is the first time I'm dealing with anything like this. So if we cannot plant trees or encourage and pay for them to plant trees or subsidize them to plant trees, et cetera, and the rest of it belongs to that other commission, if it's planting, we have no options, right? Is
I
that,
don't really. And I don't think that anyone's gonna plant something in front of that retail space on the corner because it's already such a hidden place that if you put a tree in front of it, if there's a business there, no one's ever gonna see it.
is that the one that Graham's in now with their,
I don't.
for their rental property?
That's where the
Yeah,
119 photography.
yeah, so
place.
Graham is running it for their rental.
Okay.
So their linens, if people pick up linens there or whatever, I don't know, pick their bed linens for their rentals, et cetera, something like that.
I can see what the,
Because I was on that.
where the right of way ends here, but
You know, it's not the end of the world if we can't. It just would be nice to think of some way where we can do it. And if I could just talk for a minute about the other idea. I think there's a lot of really kind of cool aspects to it. One of the big ones, I think, is it separates pedestrians from vehicular traffic where there's only 2 feet there. You know, you're kind of right there. I think that separation is really nice. I think there'd be some maintenance aspects that Lucas might not be too happy about. I don't know if, I feel like that's not something that the board could take on, you know, cutting back the perennials along State Street every year. We wouldn't have to replant them every year, that'd be the good part. There'd also be the weed pulling. But I think it would go miles and miles towards making it look better along your really kind of different, unique treatment, rather than just putting street trees in.
It would be colorful and welcoming, you know, because State Street doesn't look, it's
Yeah.
lacks that welcoming, beautiful feeling that Harbor has.
A lot of thought would have to go into, you know, what's deer hardy or deer resistant, you know, what tolerates salt, all that, but I think all of that could be overcome. So I have them running, you know, like, I don't know how long these beds are, but they could just be like short beds, you know, like 8 feet in front of every house, you know, driveway, between driveways. And it would create this kind of nice rhythm in the same way that a street tree would do if you could do trees. And it would create a nice streetscape, I think. Maybe we need a, would it be a beautification commission?
I don't need any more commissions.
I know, but it just seems like because we don't have a commission to handle it, that it should just be dropped.
Well, that's not what I just think it's not for the tree board. I think if the tree board thinks that there's, if we don't think there's a viable option to plant trees there, then that's what we can say. And then, but you can have a recommendation to council that, you know, we can put a try to put a plan together, do something for that, but it shouldn't be the tree boards. We got a lot in the tree plan to handle, aside from beautification with non-trees. I mean, then we can start getting ourselves designing every single street with flowers and we don't want to go down that route. It's not our job. So, you know,
Would this be when you say you make a recommendation, you, Dan and Mulder would do it, or we as the tree
no,
board?
the
would
tree board, I
Okay.
think it's fine for the tree board to say, you know what, it's just not practical to have trees in the city right away on State Street. We recommend, you know, some other type of beautification process, and then whether or not, you know, council then wants us to put that on our list of things to do. As far as staff, you know, I don't know what, you know, because there is maintenance time and costs to this. So, you know, we'd have to think about that, you know, from a staff perspective of, okay, what is it gonna take to, you know, we don't want this to be just volunteers. We can't put something in on the basis that we hope that volunteers will maintain it. Maybe they will for the first few years, but then it might go by the wayside. So we need to have a plan on our side that we can maintain it, take care of it. So I think really, I mean, that's really what the recommendation would be, is it's not a good place to put trees, but you know, there's benefit from greenery or something like that, so.
Well, let's see.
And I'm thinking more about the trees, on the private property, my biggest, again, is the liability. If we plant a tree on someone's property, you know, and something happens to that tree, something happens to the house, that tree falls, a limb falls, something happens, it's just too much, there's too much there that then they could try to hold us liable for it, and I think we absolutely need to stay away from that. So for me, that makes this option one just kind of untenable unless it's within the public right away. I don't think we should.
I don't think it's gonna be, and if it is, it's gonna be so close to the sidewalk that it won't be a good spot for a tree. Do we want to make a motion to take something to council about that planting, or do you guys want to just drop it?
I think it'd be worth taking it to them to see, I mean, because there's so many unknowns.
Right.
We don't know what the maintenance would be. We don't know what the increase in budget would be for that group. So it's like, it's very difficult. But it's worth, that's our only.
I could do up a graphic or something,
Right.
you know, like a little sketch of what it would look like.
That's going to begin, but skiing or fishing for the third time this year.
Okay, do we want to make a motion on that, or Victor, or what do you think?
Are you guys all generally okay with that?
Only on this
It's
world.
worth the discussion,
It is.
even if it is just among staff.
Yeah, what I'll do then is I'll first talk about it with staff to get some more input, and then and I don't know if we want to do it, my other thought is, do we want to do it right now, or do we want to wait till we, as a tree board, go through the different neighborhoods and streets? Because it might be beneficial to go to council at once and say, hey, these are the areas where it could benefit from, you know, having trees there won't work, but it could benefit from some beautification. So if, I'd rather go into council piecemeal about like, here's one street, and then 5 months later, like, oh, here's another street we saw.
Yeah.
Might be, just makes sense, like, because right now we're trying to develop a tree plan, right, for the
Yeah.
neighborhood, so we can have a plan overall saying, here's the streets and neighborhoods are gonna have trees. And then here's these dead zones that we can't fit trees in. And They're probably gonna be more than one. So, that's my suggestion, is to go, like, let's compile,
The whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because then it'd be much easier to present some sort of plan to council. Then council can take that over with staff and say, all right, over the next several years, we can work on a beautification plan.
Well, and this might not be the only option too, like
Right.
maybe there's an option where we put in like posts with hangers, with hanging baskets, like Charlotte does or something like that.
And I still don't, I know, Danny, you're hesitant, if we think about it smartly, there might be a way to, you know, at least ask people if they want to plant trees, you know, in these areas. If this is a corridor, we can send them a letter saying the benefit of, you know.
I think explaining the benefits is the key.
So
Sure you wanna do that?
it doesn't hurt, it never hurts to ask. I mean, it might just be like, whatever, the city's asking you, no way, I'm not doing it. That's the worst that could happen. So that's my thought on it.
Tell you what,
Do you want a list of those addresses, Victor, and you would send it out, or how would that work?
Yeah, I think once we do more of once we get a plan together for the whole, when we go through the neighborhoods and the streets, I think that's something we can do, but I guess the goal here is first to create a plan and then put that plan into action. So I don't think the goal here is to look at State Street and then make a decision on that, and go to actions, get the whole city, get a plan going, and then take action on that plan.
Is that what we wanna do though? I mean, do we wanna wait like a whole year before we go through every street before we do anything like we did 119 kind of?
Well, 119 was more of a, because the trees came out.
I feel like if there's neighborhoods that we could put trees in and we have the trees or the donations, like we could,
We don't have
Do
to
that.
wait until the
we don't
whole
have to
thing's
wait
done.
to have the entire plan.
Right. But a case like this where we don't,
Like we can't do anything here.
yeah,
Are there other places in those neighborhoods that we looked at?
did you guys look anywhere else?
Yeah.
We were supposed to look at different neighborhoods.
Arbor and
Arbor looks
the
beautiful.
neighborhood.
Yeah, the Uptown East area is where we were looking. The biggest hole I noticed in that area is right by the high school, near the parking lot.
Yeah.
There's no trees.
There-
On Pine Street, yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know if there's a reason.
yeah, I know, that's what I wondered too, because my husband and I were going down there and why aren't there trees here?
Yeah,
This is
there's
so bare.
A big gap on Pine Street and then I think on Center, close to Lake, there was a
Yeah,
nothing.
between Maple and Lake.
Yeah, because I
Arbor
wrote
there
that
too.
down too.
Oh, yeah, this side right here.
Yeah,
How many trees do we have in our tree bank right now, Victor?
I'm not sure. It's probably like 4 or 5.
You spaced out just now, I don't know how many times you spaced out earlier.
Do we want to spend them as we go, or do we want to, like, I think we were trying to pick off like high priority areas. Do we want to just,
So I guess the first thing for me to do is investigate,
why? Yeah.
yeah, why Pine Street doesn't have any on the right of way from Center to,
I just wonder if it's like a safety,
it may be, but there are some on
there's a
this side.
couple.
On this
there's a
side.
bunch on Spring Street, yeah.
Right, and when you're walking along there, it just feels very, very open. And I feel, especially with that parking lot there on the right of the screen, it
Yeah.
just seems like some trees might soften that area a little bit.
Mhm.
So from Pine Street, from Center to Spring, the south side. That's one area.
That could be 5 trees, something like that.
See, these look like, and it looks like that's a big enough right of way potentially to put.
It is. it's
It is pretty
wide.
big,
Yeah,
Mhm.
The other one from Maple, there is no sidewalk, so that would be something similar, sorry, on Center Street from Maple to Lake.
Well, honestly,
It looks like there's 1, 2, 3 or 4 spots you could put trees in.
there's no
It
other.
looks like the sidewalk would go down this way, so there looked like there could be space.
there's also nothing really, I don't know what road it is, but over by the parking lot for the school, like that's across the street.
Right here?
Yeah, there's nothing there either, and I don't know.
Yes. I think that'd be a good spot.
So Spring Street essentially from Snyder to Lake.
Yeah,
Mhm. And that's pretty wide too.
Yeah. So I can ask Lucas about if there's any infrastructure, other reasons why there wouldn't be any trees there. Um,
Just one other thought too is, I know really prefers to like plant in like big areas. But I wonder if they would consider these projects.
Oh, they could, yeah. I'm not,
We could consider doing a fall planting event. Yeah.
Sure, was the school planning on doing something with this parking lot?
I don't know.
Maybe they were, but. Well, those are 3 spots so that we can definitely look at it. For Leighton Park, what we did was we sent out a letter to these property owners saying we're gonna do that. It's much easier to look into.
That just reminds me of some intelligence I got from Perry Irish, who is the chair of their tree board or whatever they're calling it over in Charlevoix. And interestingly, their DPW director is an arborist. So maybe that's why they have so many trees, but what was I just gonna say?
Intelligence you got.
Yes, oh, about watering. And so they don't do gators. They feel and this is their arborist DPW guy, says they're not that effective. And that they feel it's much better for somebody to go around and just soak that root ball, with a truck with water.
If they have the manpower and the time and the money to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue with us is taking a guy off to water trees is our biggest thing.
And really, first 2 years is probably the only time you'd have to do it.
We do have irrigation systems in some places in new trees, so that helps.
Probably not so much on these boulevards.
Probably not. Any other thoughts about?
That's all in like that neighborhood.
Yeah, those were
Like Arbor Street
yeah,
is-
Pine and
looks great.
Spring. Yeah.
Spring and Pine and Center, okay. Yeah, but definitely this Spring and Pine. Definitely really bare. We'll see if there's a reason. And then
And
I'll,
then back to the question of, do we want to try and kind of implement some of this as we go, or do we have to wait until like the end of the year and then ask for money out of next year's budget? Bill and I have been talking recently about how many fundraising campaigns there are, and like, it seems like every group is sticking their hand out for money, and
I don't think we need to do a fundraising campaign, but I think personally, I mean, I think if we're gonna ask for money from council, I think having a plan in place, is good. I mean, I know, like, I see what James says, some areas you can plan as you go along, but I also think that once you have show a whole plan to like council, like, all right, now we know how many trees potentially we need to plant. Because I also think we could be using some of the trees that we have in the bank, and we were always removing trees as well, to like, in areas where we remove trees, like replant trees. I mean, that's kind of important too. So that's the other flip side of this. We're looking at new areas to plant trees, but we're also removing trees in other areas like,
Right. And I feel like that's where we need a little bit more communication, like where the trees are getting removed, because we aren't gonna notice that.
yeah. And that's something I'm gonna work on with Ben and Lucas, is to start a list going of when they remove trees.
Right.
Part of that, yeah, those are things on our end that we gotta work on, but yeah, that's something that, well, so to go back to what I was saying, I think we probably should have some sort of plan in place before we see how much money we need,
Right.
because it might be, 7 trees right now and then 8 trees later. And I mean, it's easier for budgeting purposes to know, I think maybe we do budgeting around November. So I think let's see how much we can get on this plan, and a rough idea of how many trees we need. I think we can get a plan done by fall, at least a rough plan.
And then possibly also reach out to Relief.
Yeah, exactly. And when we do an event and see where we
Yeah.
do a tree planting event for a grant. I think that's totally possible, but I think we should have some semblance of a plan first, so we have some idea of how many trees we'll need.
So should we pick another neighborhood?
so
To look
how
at
about
for
if
next
I,
July,
Yeah,
or before our July meeting?
yeah.
How about for this discrete project though, we say none for State Street right now.
Right
Yeah.
now, yeah.
But we might have this other idea that we might put forth.
Yeah, so that's what I was
Yeah.
getting is right now, at this point,
Just
I'll
start a tally, a
Yeah.
spreadsheet or something, yeah.
0 for State Street, and then we're looking at Pine Street between, where was it?
Well, why don't I take a tape measure, if we want to go with that 30-foot on center standard for shade trees. And I can just see how many we need for pine and unless you want to do it, Victor.
No. And what I'm gonna ask is if there's a reason why there aren't trees there already,
By the high school.
by high school and on Spring Street.
And right there,
Yeah.
okay.
If there's utility, if there's some reason, there may have been trees there once, who knows?
So I'll try and count up number of trees for pine, number of trees for center, number of trees for spring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then could you go up to Lake Street by Spring, Victor,
Yeah, it's kind of right here.
by the school? Where's the school?
It's the middle school,
Yeah,
right there.
so there's also like almost no trees along there. Or do we want to consider Lake as a separate?
Yeah, let's,
project?
maybe that's the next thing we do is,
Yeah.
Lake is a pretty big corridor, so.
Right.
Okay, so should we say this effort was for Uptown East?
Yes.
Okay.
Lake Street is a pretty big street, but
Should we do Lake Street just as its own for next time?
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It's a long street,
It
but,
is.
but
It's a
it's,
big-
needs to be done.
So I have a question on that though. What about mutilated trees? Do we want to consider taking out mutilated trees?
So I work off the operation that if there's a mutilated or dead tree, that it's gonna be replaced, right? So that there would be a tree that would be eventually be going back in that location. So I think right now we're trying to fill in gaps, right? Where we don't have trees. And that's I think that's something more for Ben as an arborist to,
Or Lucas?
yeah, for the,
Okay,
if you notice a tree that's messed up, sure, tell us. But I think for this purpose, we're trying to fill in gaps of where there aren't any trees. Because theoretically, we should be replacing trees as we remove them from a certain location, so.
and why don't we also just make a note in our spreadsheet or whatever we're doing? Do you want me to do that or are you too busy, Victor?
Right now I'm basically on leave, so I won't probably be able to do anything with this until July sometime, so.
Okay,
So I can do it, but just it wouldn't be done.
okay, so then should we say for state that we do have this idea going forward of twofold, one, letter to residents where we've identified a tree would be good.
Yeah.
And then also perhaps the recommendation to council to consider the idea of planting beds in the boulevard. Or does anybody else like that idea or is it just?
No, that's fine.
Do we need to talk about it more if people aren't sure?
About the bed?
Or beds in the boulevard?
Oh, like talk about it amongst us?
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea if the city has the manpower to maintain them. I think, or like you said, books, like they do in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Something.
So back to what we're looking at next month, I feel like we should add a neighborhood in too, just to stay, like North Lake, like Ottawa Street and all. Like this is your map.
Okay.
You just did that little tiny thing along Lake.
The neighborhoods north of Lake?
Yeah, just this one.
Oh, just that one. So what are we calling that? Upper?
It's just called North Lake. That's what you have. It's on your map from the last tree board meeting.
I think that's gonna be pretty easy. I think there's a lot of trees up there.
Right, but I mean, just so that we're looking at it.
Yeah, so we knock it out.
Yeah,
Which one is that?
It's this area right here, is it by Ottawa Harbor Street? North
Yeah.
Lake?
Oh, up here, okay, oh, that.
Like, I'm sure there's nothing missing, but just so that we are all looking at it.
I'm not sure that's the latest one there.
It might not be.
Yeah, okay.
If it's changed, I'll have to look back and see if, but North Lake.
I feel good that we're starting to get like more of a concrete way we're gonna do this, that we're gonna wait until the end of the year. We'll try and get everything done before then. Do we, let's see, are we saying we've already done Leighton Park, or do you feel we need to go back through it?
I mean, I know this was before most of you were on the board, but we did, I feel like we did Leighton Park.
Okay,
We could always do it again just to make sure, but we've
Maybe
sent
not
out,
this
'cause we
year.
did 7 or 8 trees we planted in Leighton Park. Cause we examined all of this. And there was a couple of people who didn't want any trees in front of them, and we just said, that's fine.
We could always do like Lake to State. And then do the north, and then for August, do Leighton Park and west and Lake to the other side.
Okay, yeah.
say that again. The other thing that we've identified is Ann Street between Lake and 119. So we could do Uptown West. And I think it's gonna be the same thing that a lot of the streets like Summit, have a bunch of trees on them already. So
Right.
may not be that much to do.
Well, you're the ones who are gonna have to do the visits, so.
Right, I think just keeping to a
like,
visit plan
Yeah,
for now.
I'm just
so that
trying to
we get
figure out how we're
everything.
gonna get all the visits done before
well, I think
November,
we'll be able to get most of them done, I think. I mean,
up below the bluff.
Lake, and then, yeah, we can finish with, maybe for August, you can do this whole,
Leighton Park and Uptown West.
yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah, what if we did a schedule? So August, what'd you just say, Jamie?
So for July, I think we should do Lake Street from like Park to State and then North Lake. And then for August, do the rest of Lake Street, Uptown West and Leighton Park. And then September, if you do like the below the bluff west. October, below the bluff east. And that's, I don't think Glen Drive
No,
every week we
they're
are.
all set.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that if we just focus on those.
So Jamie, what'd you say for? So
Um,
for.
I'm not sure. Can you show me like for July?
Like do this all the way to here and then that neighborhood.
Mhm.
And then August do this half and those.
Okay,
And then
so should
September
we
you do
just say
this.
from State Street to 119?
Yep.
Going east, plus
That neighborhood.
that neighborhood.
And then August will be Leighton Park, Uptown West in this
So
way.
Lake Street West plus Leighton Park or
And both.
Uptown?
Both.
Oh, okay. Or do we
And
need to
then-
do, didn't we, let's just say we did Leighton Park.
I mean,
And we'll be going back through this another year, I'm sure.
Right.
but- Or do you think we should do it?
I wasn't here, so I don't know.
We can still do it and just identify.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not planting trees there, we're just
Yeah,
identifying.
we're just identifying, getting everyone's opinion of if there's something missing.
So Lake Street East from State.
I can just send you an email.
Yeah,
You sent
The map,
picture-
yeah, I'll send you the email.
yeah.
Okay,
So Jamie will send a schedule and email.
Yeah, thanks.
so do we want to get done though a little bit sooner, so we've got like a month to get it together into a report or something?
Well, let's see how far it goes. I mean, I think we can. I think we'll have time.
Okay, anything else about the street tree plan? No? Okay, So we can move on to new business, and at our last meeting, we discussed talking about the mission statement.
So let me get that up.
Very apropos after our discussions today, right? What is it we're working on?
So I got the bylaws and the tree plan out. And the bylaws kind of do state the purpose of the tree board. So recognizing the many benefits of reforestation, tree management, and the protection and preservation of the city's existing tree inventory, City Council formed the board to assist the City Council and other governmental departments on issues dealing with trees, education of tree benefits and tree policies, and generally to maintain and improve the city's urban forest. That is the purpose that was set by council in 2013 for the tree board.
I think it's still good.
Yeah.
I think, was it Patrick who brought this up at the last meeting? And he talked about wanting to put trees first in the mission statement. So, and I'm not exactly sure if he had an idea. Should we talk about this when
Yeah.
he's here?
Probably. It was,
Maybe
Do we
move that.
have something called a mission statement in the tree plan?
we have the purpose of the plan, and then we have a vision, which is, got that up here. City of Ever Springs will sustain a healthy, safe, and appealing public park and street tree population, and work to increase overall tree population on both public and private property to enhance the city's environmental and economic benefits to come with a diverse urban forest. So again, when we're talking about State Street, this is a good thing to reach out to the neighbor, to the residents, say, hey, can you plant trees on your property? That's part of the tree board's, the tree plan's goals is to encourage private people to put trees on their property. So that's the vision. And I think then we took the mission and kind of made it into the value of trees. And Danny, you probably remember this. And we broke it down to what are the values of trees. Talk about aesthetics, wildlife, air quality, moderating weather, stormwater management, erosion control, property values, human health, and economic benefits and safety. So I think our vision is good. I think the vision is, and the tree board purpose is good. I mean, healthy, safe, and appealing tree population and working to increase overall tree population. I'm not sure what Patrick had in mind
Yeah, I'm not
at this
either.
point now.
So I feel like we should just move it to the next meeting and so that he can share his voice, because I know he wanted to talk about something and all I got from him was putting trees first. So I'd be curious to know what he wanted to say.
So we can move F1 to next. So then we'll just continue working on this tree plan. I think.
Yeah.
For the street,
I think that's gonna keep us plenty busy.
yes.
Can I make one more comment?
Yeah.
On the website, on the donate a tree link, it has the old tree board.
Right here.
It just needs updated. You scroll down.
Oh, right here.
Yeah,
Got you. I don't even think we need to have tree board.
I don't think it
on
needs to
this-
be on
this
there.
Page either, yeah,
but
we can just have the bit, all right. Thanks, good, I didn't even see that.
And then
something
that
small.
locations for new trees. I wonder if we should put a blurb in there, talking about that we're working on the street tree plan.
Sure, on that. And this is something we still could encourage, and we do get requests people that want to plant trees in the street. The street right away.
Oh, that reminds me, we have our first article for, Parks Board. We don't know what we're calling it exactly yet. So, we're gonna talk about it at the board meeting on Tuesday, and I guess, when Victor or somebody else sent it over to Charles, so then we're ready for the next tree board one. And we had talked about doing it about threats to trees, but I wonder if we might want to do it about the street tree plan. Why have a street tree plan? I don't know, or maybe we do that closer to when we want to implement it, maybe more towards the end of the year.
I think that would, either way, I think that would be helpful though, I mean, at the end.
I think once we're, like, the next one, stick to the threats and then why,
Okay, I believe I said I would work on threats.
When is the parks article gonna be in the paper?
We're talking about it on Tuesday. This will be our first one, so we want the board to look at it. And then maybe the week.
Late June, probably late June, early July.
Okay.
So we can talk about tree canopy at the next article at the next tree board meeting.
I just had a couple more interesting things. I talked to Perry Irish about Charlevoix. They don't have a plan. So they just drive around and say, here's where we need some trees and put them in whenever. And they have like this massive budget for it. I think they put in like 200 trees a year or something like that, but kind of different than what we do. I just thought that was interesting. You know, we're trying to have a nice organized street tree plan, which I still favor. But that is another
I mean,
way,
if we had a bigger budget, it wouldn't be as necessary.
yeah,
Right.
to prioritize.
Yeah.
And they do mulch the bases of new trees.
Any other new business? No? Okay. So I guess we're ready to adjourn.
Good.